Hello everyone, welcome to episode 8 of Play Like a WAP Pro, and today we're going to talk about how to play Glacier, East Spawn in medium tanks and light tanks. So I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to show you 2 replays or 3 replays, but I'm going to show you at least 1 replay in the STB and then 1 replay in the what's it called, the LIS, the tier 8 Polish vehicle, I believe it is. So on the STB, I usually run Turbo, Rammer, V-Stab, or just Vents, V-Stab, Rammer. You could also drop Vents for HP if you want. But on Glacier, what you really need to know is your damage comes early on in the game. And so for this map, I would always pick Turbo if you have a Turbo loadout and go middle. Now, there's 2 places on this side of Glacier that you can play, in my opinion, in medium tanks and light tanks. The first position is right here, and the second position is right here. Now, this position that I'm going to show you here, I would recommend to go to this position in a medium tank almost all the time. The exception would be if they have a lot of slow heavy tanks, like Type 4 heavy, like Mouse, E100. Then you can go here, and if you have enough gun depression, usually 8 degrees or more is enough gun depression. Sometimes even 7 degrees is fine. Then you can play here, spot them crossing and farm them. But if they have a lot of fast heavies, or if they have a lot of medium tanks, like the enemy does in this game, they have like 5 medium tanks, then I would just recommend going here, because most likely your team will send at least 1 tank here anyways to spot this cross, so you'll be able to farm that cross from this location anyways, but this position offers the additional advantage of being able to shoot enemy tanks who drive right here. Because enemy tanks on this map, they like to drive right up here and shoot your teammates who are crossing along here and over here. Yeah, over here. So that's what this position is all about for the most part. I would always recommend pre-aiming this spot in the beginning if the enemy has a light tank, so that's what I do this game. And as you can see, it gives me a little bit of free damage. And this is where the farm really begins. You want to be getting most of your damage, or at least like half of your damage, just from this early game situation here. And so you're just going to see me farming a crap ton of damage. Most times, if they have tanks where this Centurion is, they aren't paying attention to you because they're too focused on shooting the cross, so you can just poke here for free. Now, keep in mind, if the enemy has a lot of tank destroyers, especially FE 4005, you do need to be a little bit careful poking here, but usually what I do is I just keep poking here over and over again until somebody just hits me. And most of the time, if you have good view range, you'll be able to spot people who are able to hit you. So if anyone pokes from here, you'll spot them and you'll know they're there, so you'll back off. The only problem is if they play all the way back here, out of your view range, and shoot you. That's when it becomes a problem. But until they start shooting you, then I wouldn't really worry about the enemy tank destroyers, unless you spot them. Now right now I'm paying particularly close attention to this T100 because he's going to be extremely annoying if we aren't able to kill him, because he can get unlit, shoot me once, and then back off. And he can just do that over and over again, so I tried to blind fire him there. Now I spot a SG2 who was AFK in the base who took forever to get out. And right now I'm just farming him for free. But as you can see, I'm already up to 2,000 damage, and a lot of that damage, as I said, just came from shooting these guys here. Here I kind of over peak and I take a unnecessary shot, but honestly, as long as I'm trading damage, it's not a huge deal. I'll take the risk in this situation, because if you don't get damage early game on this map, it's quite often hard to get damage late game. So I'm okay trading some HP. This here is just a bad shot, but whatever. Didn't really matter anyway. Now here's a tip kind of specific to the STB, but since you have the hydraulic suspension, You have to keep in mind that the hydraulic suspension only works over the front of the vehicle. So as you can see, the hydraulic suspension is working, but that's only because my turret is facing in front of the vehicle. That's kind of a basic tip, but if you didn't know about that, you should know about it because it makes the SDB a lot easier to play. So I'm just farming away. You also have to be a little bit careful of already playing here, but in general, it's not an easy shot for them because they're shooting over a ridge. So as long as you pull back, you pull down after every shot, or at least after most shots, they're probably not going to bother even shooting you. And if they do, there's a good chance it will just fly over your head. Now I really pissed off this 215B, so he really wants to kill me, but he just dies, so yeah. Now pay attention to their lineup. Always pay attention to this, especially mid to late game. Every single one of their tanks is lit except for a Leo. What does that mean? That means they have nothing spotted back here. They have nothing that could play back here unless the Leo is back there. So that means I can play super aggressive and just push all the way up here. I wish this stupid replay bug didn't exist, but whatever. I can push all the way up here and get side shots on them. Unfortunately, the Centurion AX has good situational awareness, so he actually hits me. But I get a nice shot into the E5 there. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Here I'm unlit, so I'm not afraid to poke really aggressively, but I should be lit now. Maybe I was perma-lit. No, I'm just not lit by the 705A. I see. He's at the edge of my spotting distance. So here I'm gonna try to snap him to get the kill because I realize he might be aiming at me. But this is endgame damage, and if I get hit, I don't really care that much. I know that I'm good enough to be able to avoid taking an extra shot, and I probably won't need the HP because, as you can see, their team is just melting. Fortunately, I missed the Leo. He was actually back there, which I didn't expect, but if I would have taken a hit from him earlier, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Because then I know he's there, and it's not a problem. I almost die here, but I don't. But like I said, it doesn't really matter at this point. They have almost no HP left. I'm probably gonna get like 2, maybe 3 shots max left, max more. So it's worth taking the risk, I guess, is my point. Because the game is basically over. If it was early game, then I would be a little bit more careful with my HP. Here I aim terribly and still somehow hit him. And then I hit a spicy shot on the Manticore. Alright, that's replay 1. Let me pause and I'll switch to replay 2. I think I'm gonna do another STB replay because I have time, I guess. Okay, on to the second replay. Again, I'm gonna switch to my turbo loadout because this is Glacier, and most of your damage, in my opinion, should come from the first 2 minutes of the game, or at least around half of your damage. They do have 1 light tank, so in this situation the correct play would be to pre-aim over here. I don't know if I do that or not. Also, you can see I shoot this down just to make my path a little bit quicker. You don't have to do that, honestly. It probably doesn't change anything at all, but I kind of am pre-aiming. You can see I'm locking my gun to the right in case their light tank decides to yellow up. And I'm just going to do exactly what I did last replay. I'm going to come to the mid and farm the people who are coming here to shoot my teammates crossing. So if you really wanted to, you could skip this replay if you get the point. I'm just kind of including this replay to prove my point that this does work consistently. But, yeah, I'm gonna do the exact same thing I did last time. They will shoot back at me, but, I don't really care, because like I said, I'm trading my HP in the early game to get as much damage as possible. I'm not trading, obviously making terrible trades, but I'm willing to trade 2 for 1, for example. And here, I play aggressively on the Udes, hoping he would back off, because I see that there's juicy damage here, and I can't just sit here, I can't just say, oh, the Udes is pre-aiming me. If I take one shot, it's the end of the world. It's definitely worth it to trade with the Udes so that I can kill him and get to this free damage. So that's why I'm trading with him here, pretty much. And you'll notice I don't poke until I'm fully loaded, which is a small little thing, but it really makes a big difference. And here, I wasn't sure if the VZ was aimed at me or not, so I poked really slowly to try to figure out whether he was or not. And it turns out he wasn't, but then he quickly turned towards me. And I was ready. There are 3 Arties this replay, so I have to keep that in mind. But until one of the Arties shoots me, I'm not going to really worry about that. I'm just going to risk it, and if they hit me, I have a lot of HP, I'll take 200 damage maybe. I don't really care. That was a terrible shot. And then I can just keep in mind that he's aiming at me for the future. There, I think the VZ's reloaded, so I don't bother peeking. I don't think it's worth it to trade anymore. Just 1 for 1 with the VZ is just not a great trade, to be honest. Here's an angle that you should know about. That was a great shot, as you can see. You won't get to use this every game, so I wouldn't rely on this angle for damage or anything, but if your teammates happen to be pushing this flank and the enemy happens to be pushing this flank, then you can get some free damage sometimes, so just keep that in mind. And my goal here really is just to pressure the middle as much as I can. I know that they have 3 unlit TDs, so I'm keeping that in the back of my mind. So if I were to get lit here, I would want to back off pretty quickly. Not from here, because I'm mostly safe here. Well, actually my back is kind of hanging out. But if I were like here, then I would have to back up really quickly to avoid an FV shot. I do notice this 13105, but I just don't really care, to be honest. And here you can see I'm backing off, getting into cover before I shoot him, just in case the 4K5 is back there. There again, I turn my front towards him because I want to use the hydraulic suspension, and you can only use that from the front side of the STV. Again, I do it for a 3rd time. Or I guess the 2nd time this replay. There I see that the 4K5 fires, so I'm not really worried about him. I'm not actually sure, maybe I didn't see that. I'm not sure, to be honest. I played this game like 2 months ago. But either way, I wasn't in any danger there. Another great shot by me. I'm amazing at this game. And here, this is kind of the end game again, so I would be okay with trading HP right now because we're up 8,000 HP. If I trade HP, it's in general a good trade for me because the game is ending and I still have a lot of my HP left. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. So I wouldn't recommend going up here almost ever unless the middle is clear and your team is pushing through the south. Otherwise, this position is very bad, and I would never go up here. I would just play this ramp right here. I know this is the end game, and so I'm looking to push if possible, but this VZ is kind of posing a problem for me, but then I see that he's a one-shot, so I go to push him, but he dies. Now it's time to push in, for sure. All they have left is 3 tanks and 3 Arties, and one of their tanks is up north, so... I noticed that they have an unspotted grill. He gets lit there. And now, at this stage in the game, unless it's a 4K5 shooting me, I don't care about taking damage. I just don't care. My goal is maximizing damage as much as possible. So I'm not worried about taking any extra damage from these other tanks besides the 4K5 who can one-shot me. Now pay attention to what I do here. I decide to ram the arty and then ram the grill and shoot the grill. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I know this grill can't kill me unless the grill and the arty both hit me direct. So I'm just risking the fact that they're not both going to hit me, and it will give me some extra damage to shoot the grill over shooting the low HP arty. And he even bounces me somehow, so yeah, 8,000 damage, pretty good replay. And I just did the same exact thing this replay as I did the last, and I can tell you it works pretty consistently on this map from this side. Alright, let's go on to the last replay. I'll probably speed through the last replay, because a lot of the topics involving this map I've already covered, but I figure it's worth covering anyway because I cover a slightly different situation in the early game that I want to make sure you know about. Alright, the third replay is in the CS list. This tank, by the way, is super nice. I would highly recommend it if you're a like higher level player, I guess, because its gun handling is extremely nice, its speed is nice, its armor is not great, but it's okay. Really, the gun is what makes this tank so nice because it is 320 alpha, I believe. Yeah. And for a tier 8, that's extremely good. For a tier 8 medium tank with good gun handling, that's extremely good. Now I don't pick my turbo loadout this game. I think I had a turbo loadout. I don't know why I chose to do that, but whatever, I guess. And here you'll see this game, I actually choose to come here. One thing to keep in mind when you're going here, you can get shot from here if you're in a slower tank and they're in a faster tank. So here this Barask just barely gets here in time to shoot me. If you're in something like an AE phase 1, which I can tell you from experience is very slow because of its top speed, you don't want to take this pathing. You want to go around this thing, like preferably like this, because you will get pretty much fucked. Like I died from full HP to like a TVP or something when I was playing my AE phase 1, even with a Bond turbo driving this path, so just keep that in mind. Now, why did I actually choose to go to this spot? Well, they do have a Type 4 heavy, so they have one really slow heavy who I can farm on this cross here. But honestly, I think going to this spot was a bad decision by me. If you look at their lineup, the only heavies they have like 4 heavies, 5 heavies, and only like 2 of them are slow, like the Renegade and the Type 4. And then if you look at the rest of their lineup, they have a lot of medium tanks. So really, I probably should be going here like usual. But for some reason, I decided to go to this position. And I decided to show this replay just in case you want to play this position. There's not like a whole lot to talk about when it comes to this position, but all you have to really worry about are tanks back here, like tank destroyers, and that's pretty much it. And then artillery as well. But you are on a slope, so it's not the easiest shot for artillery. You just have to keep in mind that there will be artillery shooting you. Now, as expected, their Type 4 is crossing through the open, and I can farm him. So that's one of the advantages to going to this position. But again, like I said, if your team has any tanks here, and you're playing over here, as long as you're not dealing with these tanks in the current moment, you can shoot this anyways. So that's the advantage of this, one of the advantages of this position. You can shoot everything that this position can shoot as long as you have someone spotting it. So there's no real point to going here unless you're kind of afraid of TDs, or you think your team won't come to this position, or you're trying to get spotting damage or something. Those are basically the only reasons why you would come to this position, unless they have a lot of heavies and you want to be closer to them and guarantee your shots on them. So I get a couple shots into him for free. Got a nice snapshot into that guy there. And if you pay attention, look at what they have over here. They have a list. They had a Barask there. I'm not sure if this guy was over here at any point, but if I was playing here, I still probably would have had a pretty decent game so far because I would just be able to shoot these guys in the side, and they only have a Tortoise and a Scorpion sniping, and the Scorpion is over here. I really doubt their Tortoise is sniping from over here, but even if he is, it's only 400 damage, and I get hit once, and then I know he's there, and I can just back off, and I don't have to worry about him. So it's kind of an ideal game to be playing over there in that position. But as you'll see, this position works out just fine for me as well. Here I go for a cheeky shot. You need to be careful with these overpokes. I would never recommend going for this overpoke unless you're unspotted and you're confident that you can be very quick with it and they're not aiming anywhere close to you, because otherwise you're almost guaranteed to get hit back. So I guess that's one small tip. If you're going for a risky overpoke, make sure you're unlit first so that the enemies aren't prepared for it. Here I'm just trying to outplay this guy. I'm thinking about overpoking because he's a one-shot, and killing one-shots is very nice, especially if it frees you up to do more things. But I decide against it. I'm always looking, or almost always looking, at what's spotted, and if you look at what's spotted right now, the only two unlit tanks are the Kunzepanzer and the Tortoise. And I haven't been shot at all by the Tortoise from here, so I don't think he's there. And if he is, he doesn't seem to be a very good player because he hasn't hit me even once. And I really doubt their Kunzepanzer is there either. He's probably in the south, so I'm feeling like I can play pretty aggressive because they just don't have any TDs. And again, I'm thinking about going for this overpoke, but I decide against it. I was unlit, so I could have tried for it, but... And I don't want to get lit until the very last second when I'm making these kind of pokes. If I'm lit doing it beforehand, then it's just kind of risky. There, the Barask wasn't aimed at me, so I thought I could risk going for a poke. Because I still have, like, 900 HP, so... going for some risky pokes right now is not the worst idea. Because we're up 4,000 HP. This game is going in our favor. We're going to win soon. Most likely. That's what's going through my head anyway. We'll see if that's actually the case later on in the battle, but... here are some different angles you can play in the middle. Especially if there's no TDs behind. The Lys's gun depression isn't the best, so it's not the best tank for this position, but... it works. It works alright anyway. Especially when it's not tier 10 matchmaking. And there, the Tortoise gets lit in the south. So I'm feeling very free to play wherever I want in the middle. I could even go up here right now because they have nothing back in the back. And our team is pushing through the south. So that's kind of what's going through my head, I think, at this point. We'll see. I think that's what I do. I actually go low. That's fine as well. I'm just looking for shots through this gap here. It's the same gap I showed you in the first replay, I believe, or maybe it was the second replay. Like I said, you can't rely on this damage every game, but if it's there, and it's nice to have, so. I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit. Getting some free damage on the Tortoise. And here we're still up HP, but the guns are a little bit closer than they were. Here you can see I used my hacks to predict that this guy was going to push down from there. I don't know, just get good, I guess. And I really want to kill this Skoda T56 because he's what's preventing us from pushing through this flank right now. And so I'm kind of over poking. I know there's nothing in the back, no TDs to support him. And I get a super lucky high roll here, which really helps a lot, because now I can actually push through this flank. And I want to push through this flank as opposed to going to the other flank, just because of how the enemies are set up. Like the Kunze-Panzer position, it's very hard to push into that. Because they have a Scorpion cross-firing it. And on this flank, I basically think I can push up around here, and I'll be able to get shots into their back, and I'll be able to flank them, as opposed to facing them head on. Get a shot onto the RD rotating. I think this game is basically over. I don't manage to find a shot onto this guy, unfortunately. Let me speed it up even more. It's really hard to pen a tortoise from this angle, especially with only 252 penetration. But I'm trying. I think I load HE here to save credits. It actually almost ends up costing me a little bit of damage, but I managed to ram him. So yeah, that's the end of the 3 replays. I hope this little video has helped you play Glacier from the east side in your medium tanks and light tanks especially. Or fast heavies like a Kron with a turbo. You could also play like this, going to this position. Not sure if I'll have any more episodes coming out soon or not. We'll see. I probably will in about a week or so, but between now and a week, I'm not sure, to be honest. So, we'll see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.